All right, short reviews for May 25th. I'm pretty much just catching up with the rest of May's videos as it is, and this is just a collection of six records from the end of the month, which were better than probably about 25 of the records that I just didn't get around to. Uh, I'm not going to say that I'm that enthusiastic about any of them more than like one more than another, but they're all pretty good. So we'll just get right to it with Olkoth at the Eye of Chaos. This is their debut full length, and they're following up on a very promising demo from about 2019, which was sort of in that style of like Angel Corpse and Nile, the late 90s into early 2000s kind of feeling that we get from a lot of Everlasting Spew releases, which maybe adds a modern touch to a very classic continuation of a 90s death metal sound. This is a little bit more modern. It has the current vocalist for Lecherous Nocturne in the band, and it's all about that sort of fiery post formulas fail to the flesh brutality, while also has a technical edge to it. And that's kind of the interesting part of it, is that there's a lot of the shredding and technical side of it in there, which is obviously enhanced by Christoph Klingbein, who is just a fantastic drummer and does session work for the band at this point. And it just makes for like a debut that could have been pretty rough, if they hadn't quite stepped it up in every way beyond that demo. It seems like the appropriate amount of time to arrive upon a very solid debut demo. And I think the only thing that's missing for me is what makes this stand out. Because I think if you're a fan of like Perdition Temple and that kind of thing, you get this sound right away. You understand what it is, and you can appreciate how there's a little bit of a modern sensibility pushed into that very classic feeling sound. But it's not enough of a signature yet to where I need to put this on versus about 150 other records I have on a shelf somewhere. So there's a lot of this stuff that I really appreciate as a fan of this style, but I'm waiting for them to kind of push it over the edge with their own touch. Otherwise, a fantastic record. It's an easy recommendation if you're not familiar with this style or if you just want more of it. That's what this is in my mind. So check it out. Serpent Moon is the debut full length from Ardis, and uh, certainly a band named for its desert scenery. It's supposed to kind of invoke the landscape. I don't know if that's an afterthought or that's just what came about, but that is kind of the given theme to this record, and it comes from Galen Badouan, who is a member of Street Tombs, which I've talked about before, Infera Bruo, which I've written about before, and he's the live bassist for Wolves in the Throne Room, who you should probably know by now. And this is more of a kind of classic uh, black metal approach with his own atmospheric touch. It is, at once, it is a little bit droning, also meandering at times, but it is very classically and kind of cold and atmospheric in just some appreciation for 90s black metal. And I think it's something we hear a lot of today as slightly atmospheric takes on 90s black metal. And thankfully, this doesn't go in too far into the realm of like keyboard abuse and that kind of thing. It sticks to guitar work. And I'd say there's like three or four songs in here which are just okay, and the rest is pretty solid. And I think it's a strong debut for just showing what this is all about. It is sort of a collection as a side project, the songs that have added up over time in a certain style. And I don't know that it has like a distinct direction to my ear, but it certainly has. All the songs here relate and are designed to kind of fit together in a meaningful way. So interesting debut. I like to see where they go with it. So, Misarthim is an Australian atmospheric black metal slash trance band, and they've been around for only a few years, but they put out a ton of releases which focus on a combination of electronic music and post black metal. And I guess I would say some of them are a little bit more depressive, some of them are a little bit more upbeat, and Arrival is probably more on the upbeat side of things. It is actually almost has kind of a bounding power metal feel at times, or something like I compare it to like Battle Beast. Like how far away from Battle Beast are we really? And if you don't know that band, just think of modern festival power metal. Uh, and I would say it's closer to maybe like stripping out the black metal and sounding a bit like Master Boot Record, but trance and depressive or post black metal. Anyway, there's no. It's supposed to be a space ambient sort of black metal approach, and it kind of works. It doesn't sound very serious to me, and it which doesn't have to mean anything to you, but it's not quite there for me. Like I definitely got immersed into the full listen, and it kind of comes together on one or two of the songs, but it also becomes strangely commercial, cloying, poppy, like just kind of yeah. If I didn't listen to so many like JRPG soundtracks and chiptune music here and there, I probably wouldn't have the stomach for it. But if you divorce it from the black metal vernacular and just see it as electronic music or a certain type of post black metal, it gets there. It's pretty interesting. Not a huge recommendation for me, but something worth checking out. I do think this is one of the more complete feeling works from the artist, and it does feel like they're reaching for something beyond what they've done before. Fans of like dark metal will kind of appreciate it at the same time as post black metal fans. And anyway, check it out for yourself. Skeletal Grotesquerie is a live album from Corpsest. I think one of Finland's best death metal bands of the last, 10, 20 years. And certainly a classic death metal band in every sense, but one that has sort of found their sound over time. I think that their last records, Come to Rot, it was just kind of their best thing yet. And I'm glad to hear that, like, hey, this band is pretty good live. Like, this is a soundboard recording that has been mixed and mastered beyond the fact. And they've done a really good job of preserving the crowd noise and the crowd reactions alongside the actual music and its imposing presence. This is a hard thing to score because I mean, it's a live album, and I don't talk about those very much. And I feel like it's important to explain the score a little bit in terms of like, of course, I enjoy this band and I like how they sound, and I appreciate how spotless this performance is on the soundboard and all that. But I don't tend to go back to live albums personally, and the sound, like rating the sound quality is sort of a stupid thing from my point of view. It's a live record. It sounds like a live record, and if I had a standard, it'd probably be like Morbid Angel's live record, and this is obviously going to be more atmospheric. It's obviously going to be a little more inclusive of the crowd noise. So it's a little bit different. And like I would go back to it just because I'm that much of a Corpsest fan, and I probably won't have a chance to see them live anytime soon. But it is still something to recommend to people who are that much of a fan if you're kind of still along those lines as I am. So check it out and yeah, give it a try because it is impressive that they pull it off. Collide is the latest full length from Suffering Quota, and you might remember that I talked about their record way back in 2018. Life in Disgust was um, right about the time where I felt like we were getting a lot of really good underground grindcore releases, and I was still getting a lot of those in my email, and then that kind of just dried up in about 2019. So this was good to see this band back. I'm a big fan of like Asuk and Nazum, and where they took grindcore in a very serious way. And in a lot of ways, this is still a band kind of along those lines. This is a short record. It's not too concerned with death metal overall. It is very much a fast, kind of power violent grindcore record. It gets a little bit more straight to the point than the last one, and I just thought it was great. I was very quick, very easy listen, brutal all the way through, and all the things you'd want from kind of if you're a fan of classic grindcore. So check it out. So The Mon is a solo album from Erlo. He's an important member of UFO Mammoth, and I've been a big fan of UFO Mammoth for a while, but I've just recently gotten a lot more into their music, going back through their discography after the last full length, and I was just glad to have a reason to go back and sort of pick their stuff back up. I'm a big fan of what they do, and I have become a big fan of what they do again, and basically this is a solo project, and it mostly focuses on electronic music, and not so much in the typical sense of just dabbling with a couple of beats, but um, uh, this is kind of a personal solo record first and foremost. So it is kind of a bit of dark folk. It is a little bit of kind of electronic, somber rock, not really rock, but folk, and there are there's just a certain tonality to it, which is kind of a wandering spirit, as well as a very focused and um, sort of expressive songwriting that is personal and intimate. So there's a lot on this album, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. It does get a high recommendation for me. So anyway, check it out if you're that interested in that kind of thing and want to follow the artist's work. There's a place in my heart where I need flame is burning like a breath, like a gravity, some feeble eyes and dance. And finally, Vorder's False Haven is the latest full length from this band, who've been around kind of forever since the early '90s. In some respect, there are some associations with Catatonia and several other bands that are kind of surprising. And basically, they sort of found a post metal sound around the time post metal became a thing, and they sort of picked up and hit upon something that was concrete around 2017 with their first couple of full lengths. There is certainly some post-hardcore in there. There's a little bit of maybe an extreme doom touch to what they do, but post-metal is the right way to think about this band. And their real touch upon the post-metal vernacular is a hypnotic feeling, a movement that is a little bit blurred and swaying in its movement. And anyway, if you don't know who Vorder is, it's V Order. It's the band formerly known as V. I should have explained that up front. They changed their name because V is probably just a nightmare for search engine results. But False Haven is basically their third full length, as far as I understand, and it's pretty good. I kind of got burnt out on post metal a long time ago, but this type of record pulls me back in, and I can really appreciate the way this band has evolved into something that is, again, notably hypnotic and gloomy and post-apocalyptic, and kind of has this dreamlike aggression to it that I really appreciate in this type of sound. So, not something to just wave a hand at, something to maybe dig into and check out if you're interested in kind of post-metal sounds.